Well, just the other day, the new trailer for Alice Through the Looking Glass came out, and it seems a really popular one from Disney. I've had a few people send it to me, and it's well worth checking out here because, as per usual, it's full of the typical Luciferian propaganda. So let's firstly take a look at the subliminal meaning behind the prospect of Alice in Wonderland.
She will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time. Darkest hour, before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
Please, we really need you. I'm just here about the portal. Only the chosen one can align the fates and save the 12 lands from the forces of darkness.
When the clock strikes heavy and there's no time for tea, in our darkest hour,
Stop to war, so they say.
Close in the dark, they say.
They say she's the chosen one.
Peculiar place to have a party.
Once you realise that these stories, like Alice in Wonderland, are actually allegories of Luciferian principles, made more digestible to the public by the use of cute fairy tales, do we start to understand more of the language that they're trying to convey. And this is exactly why the Large Hadron Collider at CERN has got an instrument called Alice, because it represents the light going through the tunnel. And it's no different with these movies. And what we're seeing today is a huge increase in this Luciferian propaganda. Alice Through the Looking Glass. Well, through the looking glass means to be on the other side of the mirror, which means in a different realm or a different dimension. So Alice is playing that false Christ figure here, the false light. Let's have a look at the trailer first together, then expose what is being subliminally pushed.
You've been gone too long, Alice. There are matters which might benefit from your attention. Friends cannot be neglected. Hurry.
when the day becomes the night and the sky becomes the sea, when the clock strikes heavy and there's no time for tea, and in our darkest hour, before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
Time is a he. He is not someone you want as your enemy. Please, sir. The Hatter is in danger.
Young lady, your time is up. This cannot be good.
Hello, Alice.
I present you with a gift.
Right, so let's take a brief look at this trailer. I assure you without doubt that this is Luciferian propaganda. Even when we start off this trailer, we've got the whole Disney logo, and the Disney logo itself is the river here, which represents the serpent, and this house, palace, at the end of it. This golden palace, so on the head of the serpent there. And it's all about time, because it's ticking away in this logo. Disney 666 in the logo. And so we're already introduced to it being about time. We have the chiming of the bell tolls, and we see this girl, which is playing that character I've been speaking of,
Gone too long, Alice.
the false light, following this butterfly. The butterfly represents from the murky to the beautiful, like the rebirth, the rise of the phoenix, and it goes into essentially what is this house. And you're going to see that she performs some kind of fake, false, self-sacrificial thing, which is what the Luciferians believe that Lucifer is.
From your attention.
So it's like following the White Rabbit in a way, and it goes through this mirror, which is a portal or a gate. You can see that there's an allusion to water, like the water gate. Friends cannot be neglected. So she's in blue up there, and this Hatter is in red. So it's the two pillars, and it's Lucifer sacrificing itself. And this is like hell, you see here, and she's up in what you would refer to as heaven. So she does it. She goes through the gate. She follows that butterfly, blue butterfly, and takes the plunge. This is exactly what they believe. The Luciferians believe that Lucifer is, you know, self-sacrificial.
Hurry.
It's their version of the Christ. It's the false Christ. So falling down from heaven, much in the same way. What are those squares? That's weird. Much in the same way as we've seen before, we saw in the Panic at the Disco video where he falls down from heaven. They see that, the Luciferians see that as a self-sacrificial thing. It's all twisted. All about time. So listen to what the narrator says now.
Becomes the night.
So when the day becomes the night, it's all everything turning upside down. Black becomes white.
And the sky becomes the sea.
And the sky becomes the sea. So turning everything upside down, swapping darkness for light. We've seen it time and time again, where the weather goes mad and we see everything being turned upside down. And that's what he's saying here, when the day becomes night, when the sky becomes the sea, turning everything upside down. Look at Lucifer there, approaching what is a representation of the Tower of Babel, I believe. I mean, it's all biblical, but this is their twisted version of it. So the Tower of Babel, the Stargate, you'll see it's all to do with time and time change affecting time.
And the sky becomes the sea. Then the clock.
So there we've got our representation of the clock. This clock has actually got the same design as Big Ben, some sort of flower, geometrical flower in the centre. And I'm not saying that's necessarily anything to that, but we've seen the time, the smashing of time, their rituals pertaining to it often includes this Big Ben, probably because of the GMT, zero, cracking time. Led Zeppelin did it on their album cover.
Then the clock strikes heavy, and there's no time for tea.
that Last Supper reference. And here she goes through the heart of time. Again, all tying into the heart of the earth and that cracking through the heart of time.
And in our darkest hour, before my final rhyme, she will come back home to Wonderland and turn back the hands of time.
And turn back the hands of time, which we see them representing so many times. If you've been watching this channel before, the reversing of time, possibly to a pre-flood. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but these are all rituals to do with trying to reverse the prison that they are stuck in. You've got to take some of these things with a pinch of salt because they're not all explicitly biblical, but certainly their belief is that these entities are trapped in Saturn, and it's all to do with breaking time and cracking them out. Of course, CERN as well, and all of that.
Of time.
Time. He is not someone you want as your enemy.
So time is a he, again, demonising the masculine side. And this is likely a reference to Saturn there, because it goes the Tower of Babel, Stargate, time change, and then what do we get? We get the single eye symbolism. So there's probably a reference to that.
He is not someone you want as your enemy.
Young lady.
Looks like 1,000 points of light, all Luciferian.
This cannot be good.
The heart of the earth there, you see that? It all ties into the heart of time, the heart of the earth, and cracking them out through a portal. And that's it. This is the same thing. I mean, I haven't seen the film yet. This trailer's only just come out. But you see there how this is all tying into the same thing. The changing of time, the Luciferian belief system, Lucifer cracking out the false light, cracking them out of the heart of the earth, and all of that.
I present you with a gift.
This is rather sick, actually, because I'm sure some of you can see what that represents right there, the king being beheaded. So this is very blasphemous, and it's also probably a reference to the king's children, for example, the propaganda surrounding Christians. And also in the book of Revelation it tells us that Christians in the end times will be persecuted in like manner. At Memorial Day 2016, again, rather sick. Just after that, that's rather sick blasphemy. But there is no fear in any of this, because actually, on the backhand of all of this, if there is an Antichrist, if this is showing us Antichrist propaganda, then there must be a real Christ. There must be the legitimate Messiah. And this all shows us that the Bible is the truth, and he's the truth. Confess with our mouth that we have sinned against him, and he is faithful to forgive us. Jesus died on the cross for us. He shed his blood as a remission of our sins. And believe in your heart that he rose again from the dead, and you will be saved. Confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart that God has risen him from the dead, and you'll be saved. That is good news. Disney can't take that away from you. No other man, no power of hell can take that away from you. The gospel is such an amazing hope, and that is why I do this. Because regardless of what anyone else has told you, it is the pinnacle of truth. And if you are desperately seeking answers, if you are desperately seeking God, if you are desperately seeking the truth, truth begins when you kneel down and ask Jesus to be your Messiah. Your life will change. Let's be born again. Let's have real hope in the real kingdom. God bless you guys.